itong ICC, itong, I will not, why would I defend or face an accusation before white people? You must be crazy. Yung mga kalumang colonizers ito noon, they have not atoned for their sins against the countries that they invaded, including the Philippines. Tapos ito ngayon sila, they're trying to set up a court outside our country and making us liable to face them. Walang alaw ng batas. Our laws are different. Criminal procedure is very different. How are you supposed to get justice there? Kaya ako nag-withdraw. And besides, I said, the one thing that ang depensa ko is yung Rome Statute na ratify sa Congress. But itong mga punggoy na to, dahil na in their desire to itong extrajudicial killing, dumiretso doon sa Rome and appended the treaty that was approved by Congress. How are you supposed to know about the laws or itong batas nila itong sa ICC? Tapos ako magharap ng mga puti. Ganyan akong I will readily face a court being accused in a Philippine court before a Filipino judge. So paano itong ating bayan? Gano'n na lang. Tapos yung mga mayor, mga barangay captains pumapasok kasi madali ang pera eh. Kaya karamihan sa inyo namamatay kasi sinabi na huwag eh. Itong droga matagal na ito. Maraming mayor na namamatay na. And yet, it goes on and on every day, transactions there, and we are able to seize in bulk. Minsan maabot ng bilyon. Kaya gusto sambalin ko yung mga judges niya. Loko-loko pala kayo eh.
Just hours after announcing that face shields are no longer required outdoors, President Duterte flip-flops and says these are mandatory once again. The Food and Drug Administration says all COVID-19 vaccine brands are still working against the Delta variant. After a low turnout of vaccine recipients yesterday, Manila reopens its vaccination hubs to walk-ins. And Gilas Pilipinas eyes a tune-up game against China. Focused and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. President Rodrigo Duterte announced last night that the wearing of face shields is still mandatory, both indoors and outdoors. This clears up the confusion from when Palace spokesperson Harry Roque flip-flopped on the government's face shield policy in just a matter of hours yesterday. Roque announced in his noontime briefing that the plastic face shields will no longer be required in open-air areas. But he took this back hours later through a tweet. He said that in view of the Delta variant and acting on the advice of health experts, Duterte ultimately decided to keep the status quo on face shields. Duterte apologized for the confusion, saying he was only shooting the breeze with some congressmen when he first mentioned that face shields should only be required indoors or in hospitals.
I will apologize to the Filipino people that this thing was being discussed openly and many thought that we were ready to do away with the face masks. But with the kind of aggressive infection that poses a very grave danger to, it's a small inconvenience actually. I know that it is inconvenient really to be wearing the mask, adjusting it from time to time. But that is only a very small price to pay. Than rather gamble with doing away with it and courting disaster.
The Education Department has withdrawn its request to resume limited face-to-face classes. This comes after President Duterte rejected the agency's proposal last night, saying he will only allow classes to resume once the country achieves herd immunity. Education Secretary Liling Briones initially identified 1,900 schools which could conduct limited face-to-face classes, and this number has been brought down to 100 to limit interactions amid the pandemic. However, Briones said that she accepts the president's supposed wisdom on the matter.
Dito sa face-to-face, I think I am not inclined to agree with you. I'm sorry, but mahirap. I cannot gamble on the health of the children. I hope you'd understand.
FDA Director General Eric Domingo urges the public to get inoculated, regardless of the vaccine brand, to protect themselves against the highly contagious Delta variant. Domingo said all kinds of COVID shots can protect Filipinos against the Delta variant, despite their varying efficacy levels. For instance, Pfizer is said to have 88% efficacy against the Delta strain, while AstraZeneca is 60% effective against the variant first detected in India.
All over the world, there are now 18. May nadagdag po kasi this week na isang vaccine. Pero sa Pilipinas po, we have approved 8 vaccines po for emergency use authorization. And vaccine expert panel, meron po pong tinitingnan ngayon na 2 pa pong possible vaccine clinical trial. So lahat naman po ng bakunang ito, wala naman pong nawawalan completely ng visa, even with the Delta variant.
Meanwhile, vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says more vaccine supplies will be arriving before the month ends. This is expected to help the government ramp up its vaccine distribution rate, along with the government's supply deal for the procurement of 40 million Pfizer shots.
We have reached 8 million mark last Friday. We have already received 14,205,870 vaccines. We are expecting to receive 4 million more before the end of the June.
The city of Manila continues its vaccine rollout today, and this time, the city government has partnered with several shopping malls to allow more residents to get inoculated. This as the LGU has reinstated its walk-in policy for vaccinees. Justine Punsalang now reports to us live from SM San Lazaro to give us the latest this morning. Justine, could you give us the situation there? Are there more people showing up to get vaccinated?
Charles, around 1,500 vaccinees are already inside the SM San Lazaro as they wait to be vaccinated inside the cinema. Many of them diligently waited outside the mall as early as 12 midnight just to get vaccinated despite the rain early this morning. The first in line for the job waited outside the mall as early as 7:30 last night. He said he wanted to make sure that he will receive the vaccine no matter the brand today. Others, meanwhile, spent their waiting time sleeping since they have been in line during the early hours in the morning. Moderate rain fell over the city of Manila earlier, but the vaccinees were shielded from it by the long-covered walkway of the mall. Chairs were laid out for those in line and physical distancing was properly implemented by the mall security. But yesterday, the Manila LGU briefly adopted the no schedule, no vaccination policy. Out of the 28,000 available vaccines, only 4,000 were deployed by 3 p.m., which was why at 4:30 in the afternoon, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno re-allowed walk-in vaccinees, and the day ended with a total of 18,388 vaccines deployed. Today, the LGU plans to inject 28,000 doses again in different vaccination sites. There will be 2,500 doses for each of the mall sites, or each of the 4 mall sites, 2,000 doses for each of the 6 school sites, and 1,000 doses for each of the 6 community sites. Charles, we spoke to some of the vaccinees and they said they actually prefer the walk-in policy over the by schedule vaccination. They explained that with the walk-in, they can choose which day they can get their jabs. The problem with the by schedule policy is that they have to wait for the text of the local government of Manila, and should they not be available, they have to wait for the next available or next schedule provided by the LGU, and there is no assurance that they are available for that day. However, they hope that the vaccination will be further localized, bringing the vaccination to barangay level so that mass gatherings will be avoided. Charles?
Thank you and stay safe, Justine. That was Justine Punsalang reporting live from Manila. The health department says COVID-19 cases in the NCR and the rest of Luzon are still plateauing. In his latest report, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III noted the slowed down trend of cases in Luzon. But the DOH warns that cases continue to rise in Mindanao, particularly in the Caraga region, while Duque added that cases in the Visayas are starting to show signs of leveling out.
Tumataas ang mga kaso sa Mindanao. Yung ganun din susunod na tumataas ang Visayas. So, ito po ay atin pong binibigyan paalala ang atin pong mga local chief executives sa mga naturang lugar na kanila pong dapat i-intensify o paigtingin ang kanila pong PDITR strategy and also improving their vaccination coverage.
President Duterte says no local ordinance is above national policy. This was Duterte's response to Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia, who insisted on implementing her own health protocols for arriving residents. During his speech, Duterte admitted to telling Garcia that the national government is fair and sees the wisdom in her view, although he argued that the government and some medical doctors simply do not agree with her.
An ordinance of a local government unit cannot be higher than a national policy because of the emergency. Ganito itong batas natin. This is how we do it. So I leave the fate of Governor Garcia sa DILG. There are some mechanics that can be put into action to compel obedience. Not because you want to be mas marunong, but remember I said that all our decisions are based on what the medical people say.
In an earlier press conference, Garcia said that she will still enforce the swab upon arrival policy for all incoming travelers. This is in contrast with the 10-day quarantine that's imposed by the IATF, with testing only done on the 7th day. The governor also remained unfazed despite being visited by DILG officials who claimed that her provincial ordinance was null and void.
I am standing by my oath, and it is my duty to see to it that the provincial board ordinance, unless otherwise declared by a proper court and not by a lawyer of the ILG, as mandated by the local government code, it is the local government unit that has to decide, because we, above all, must uphold the general welfare of our own constituents as contained under the General Welfare Clause.
President Duterte again lashed out at the ICC, saying he won't cooperate in its pending investigation on the administration's drug war. Duterte says he has no business defending himself before, quote, white people. The president said the judges of the International Court come from countries that invaded the Philippines before, adding that such colonizers have not atoned for their sins against Filipinos. Recall that ICC judges are nominated and elected from a pool of highly qualified nationals of state parties to the Rome Statute. No two judges may be nationals of the same state. In fact, Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, the judge who initiated a probe into Duterte's drug war, was not from a colonizing country, but is from Gambia, a country in West Africa. Still, Duterte said he will only be willing to face an investigation done by local courts.
Kaya ako galit dyan sa ICC na yan. Biro mo, almost 700, 800 people all over the Philippines are arrested. Different people. If you do not move against them, it will destroy our country. Narco-politics to. I'm not saying that we are killing them. We kill them because they fight back. Kaya pag magpatuloy ito, saan tayo pupunta? Paano ang bayan kung ito kung gano'n? Kaya itong ICC, itong, I will not, why would I defend or face an accusation before white people? You must be crazy.
Gilas Pilipinas is looking to play a practice game against China before heading to Serbia for the FIBA Olympic qualifying tournament on June 30. Head coach Tab Baldwin says the Philippine team will hopefully play the tune-up game right before the Chinese leave for their own OQT campaign in Canada. Baldwin and the rest of the coaching staff are also set to determine the final 12 players who will play in the OQT around the scheduled tune-up game. The logistics for the tune-up game have yet to be sorted out. But Baldwin says facing a top-tier Asian squad will only benefit the young Gila squad. And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us later at 10 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We're One News.